Stop for a second. Before you spend money on a cruise dinner, there's something you need to understand, because this is where most people get it wrong. Cruise ships are not just vacations, they're systems. Carefully designed systems that guide you towards spending more, especially on food. You'll see premium restaurants, upgraded menus, exclusive experiences, and it all feels like that's where the real quality is. But here's the truth most people miss. Some of the best dining experiences on a cruise are already included in what you've paid for, and if you don't know how to use that system properly, you end up paying extra. Not because you have to, but because you were subtly pushed into it. So before you book anything, let's break this down the smart way. Let's be honest for a second. If you've ever been on a cruise, or even planned one, you've probably looked at those specialty restaurants and thought, that's where the better food is. And that's exactly what cruise lines want you to believe. Because when you walk past those beautifully designed restaurants, see people dressed up, watch waiters serving premium dishes, it creates a perception, a feeling that the included options are somehow less. But in reality, most people never fully explore or maximize what's already included in their cruise fare. They don't ask questions, they don't experiment. They just follow the obvious path, and that's where they lose money without even realizing it. So let's start with the one place that almost everyone overlooks. The main dining room is easily the most underrated part of cruise dining. Most people treat it like a standard one-meal option. You go in, order one dish, eat, and leave. But that's not how it's designed to be used. In reality, it works more like a flexible dining experience. You can order multiple appetizers if you want to try different flavors. You can order more than one main course, steak, seafood, pasta, all in the same sitting. And when it comes to desserts, there's no real limit either. The menu isn't restrictive, people just assume it is. So instead of thinking, what should I pick? Start thinking, what do I want to try? Because once you use it this way, the need to pay for extra dining starts to disappear very quickly. Now, once you understand that, things start to shift. Because the goal isn't to avoid paid restaurants completely, it's to use them intelligently. And this is where timing becomes your biggest advantage. Most people only think about dinner when they think of premium dining. Evenings feel more special, more exclusive, more worth paying for. But what if I told you that the exact same experience, the same kitchen, the same chefs, sometimes even the same menu, can be accessed at a completely different price just by changing the time you go? This is one of those small adjustments that doesn't feel important at first, but once you use it, it completely changes how much you spend. Instead of focusing on dinner reservations, start looking at lunch. On many cruise ships, specialty restaurants offer lunch services that are significantly cheaper than their dinner versions. And the surprising part is, the experience doesn't drop. You're still getting high-quality food, the same attention to detail, and a much calmer environment because fewer people book it. The atmosphere is quieter, more relaxed, and often even more enjoyable. But because demand is lower during the day, prices naturally come down. So instead of paying premium rates at night, you shift your timing and get almost the same experience at a fraction of the cost. It's a simple move, but one that most passengers completely overlook. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. There's a small window of time on every cruise where you have more control than you think, and that's right at the beginning, the first day. While most passengers are busy exploring the ship, finding their rooms, or just settling in, there's something else happening behind the scenes. Restaurants are trying to fill seats. They're not at full capacity yet. And empty seats on a cruise ship are lost revenue, which means they're much more open to offering deals, discounts, and incentives, especially if you're paying attention early. So here's what you should do on embarkation day. Instead of rushing to the buffet like most people, take a walk around the ship, visit different restaurants, look at their menus, talk to the staff. Ask a simple question. Are there any opening day offers? You'd be surprised how often the answer is yes. Sometimes it's discounted meals, sometimes it's bundled offers. And these deals don't always stay available after the first day. So by being just a little proactive, just a little more aware, you can lock in a better dining experience for less right at the start of your trip. But even after all this, there's something most people still miss, and it's probably the simplest advantage on the entire ship. Because the truth is, you don't actually need to rely on paid restaurants at all. There's already a full network of food options included in your cruise, spread across different parts of the ship. The problem is they're not always obvious. They're not heavily promoted. And unless you explore a little, you might never even notice them, which means a lot of people end up paying extra, while free options are sitting right there. Once you start looking, you'll find them everywhere. Late-night pizza counters that stay open when everything else closes. Poolside grills serving fresh burgers, fries, and quick meals throughout the day. Small snack stations tucked into corners of the ship. And even room service options, especially breakfast, that are often included in your fare. These aren't backup options, they're part of the system. And when you start using them properly, they reduce your need to spend extra almost completely. It's not about avoiding paid dining. It's about realizing how much you already have access to. Now, before we wrap this up, there's something really important you need to understand, because even if you know all these hacks, there are still a few small mistakes that can quietly make you spend more than you should. And the problem is, they don't feel like mistakes when you're doing them. The first one is upgrading too quickly. You board the ship, you see all these premium options, and within the first day, you start booking things without really exploring what's already included. That's exactly how cruise lines want it to happen. They rely on quick decisions, but if you slow down, even for a day, and explore your options first, you'll make much better choices. The second mistake is assuming paid means better. Sometimes it is, but not always. In many cases, the difference is more about presentation and exclusivity than actual food quality. And if you already know how to maximize the main dining room and free options, that gap becomes much smaller than people think. The third mistake is not planning your meals across the day. Most people think about food only when they're hungry, so they react instead of planning. They skip free options earlier in the day, and then end up paying later because they feel like they need something better. But if you spread your meals smartly, use included options during the day, and selectively choose paid experiences when they actually add value, you stay in control. And finally, one of the biggest mistakes, following the crowd. If you see a long line or a popular restaurant, it automatically feels like that's the best choice. But on a cruise ship, popularity doesn't always mean better. Sometimes it just means more visible. The real advantage comes when you step slightly away from the obvious and start making decisions based on awareness, not impulse. Because at the end of the day, saving money on cruise dining isn't about avoiding good experiences. It's about choosing them at the right time, in the right way. And once you start doing that, you don't feel restricted. You actually feel more in control of your entire cruise experience. At the end of the day, cruise dining isn't about how much money you spend. It's about how well you understand what's already available to you. Most people don't overspend because they want to. They overspend because they assume they need to. They follow what looks premium instead of exploring what's already included. But once you understand the system, how pricing works, how timing works, how options are placed across the ship, everything changes. You stop making automatic decisions, and you start making smart ones. So the next time you step onto a cruise ship, you won't just eat, you'll know exactly how to eat better, for less.